What we want is some more evidence, please. Here's Joe Alabaster.
Hello, this is Joe Alabaster. World Homeopathy Awareness Week is approaching once again, to take place from the 10th to the 16th of April 2015. Last year's World Homeopathy Awareness Week took place just as the NHMRC's draft information paper examining evidence on the effectiveness of homeopathy in treating health conditions had been made public, which led to a substantial amount of awareness raising via the media that homeopathy is not an effective modality. Similarly, this year, World Homeopathy Awareness Week is taking place the month following the release of the NHMRC's completed review on homeopathy. This review has led to headlines stating the findings that homeopathy is no more effective than a placebo, which makes for some fine public awareness of homeopathy from an evidence-based perspective. World Homeopathy Awareness Week's theme for 2015 is Homeopathy for Infectious Diseases. Now, there is no evidence for nor plausible mechanism by which homeopathy can be of any use in treating infectious disease, and I feel that it's highly unethical and very dangerous to mislead people by claiming such, particularly in the midst of the US's current measles outbreak and the ongoing Ebola epidemic in West Africa. The belief that homeoprophylaxis, also referred to as homeopathic vaccination, provides any protection from diseases which ought to be prevented with immunization leads to parents falsely assuming that they've adequately addressed preventative health care. This false sense of safety is both incredibly dangerous and cruel. Homeoprophylaxis, and homeopathy in general, cheats consumers into believing that they're looking after their own and their children's health. Now, speaking of unreliable and non-credible health advice, the organisers of World Homeopathy Awareness Week have uploaded an image as their cover photo on the Facebook page for World Homeopathy Awareness Week 2015, featuring a pro-homeopathy quote attributed to Mahatma Gandhi. Quote, "Homeopathy cures a larger percentage of cases than any other method of treatment and is beyond doubt a safe, economical and a most complete medical science." End quote. Mahatma Gandhi is a widely influential and highly esteemed man, a peace activist, civil rights pioneer, and the preeminent leader of the independence movement in British-ruled India. His philosophies regarding human rights, non-violent civil disobedience, and the nature of humanity are valued by many people worldwide. Did this qualify him to speak on matters of medicine and health with any authority, though? He had no medical training or expertise, he was educated in law, but nonetheless penned a treatise on health matters in which he noted, quote, "I have arrived at certain definite conclusions from that experience, and I now set them down for the benefit of my readers." End quote. A Guide to Health by Mahatma Gandhi is available as a free ebook courtesy of Project Gutenberg. It contains some quite fantastic claims and philosophies about the human body and the nature of disease, which are gently described as ill-informed. For example, quote, "The world is compounded of the 5 elements, earth, water, air, fire, and ether. So too is our body. It is a sort of miniature world. Hence the body stands in need of all the elements in due proportion, pure earth, pure water, pure fire or sunlight, pure air, and open space. When any one of these falls short of its due proportion, illness is caused in the body." End quote. On the cause of fever, quote, "As most fevers are caused by disorders of the bowels, the very first thing to do is to starve the patient. It is a mere superstition that a weak man will get weaker by starving. As we have already seen, only that portion of our food is really useful which is assimilated into the blood, and the remainder only clogs the bowels. In fever the digestive organs are very weak, the tongue gets coated and the lips are hard and dry. If any food is given to the patient in this condition, it will remain undigested and aid the fever. Starving the patient gives his digestive organs time to perform their work, hence the need to starve him for a day or two." End quote. Now here's Gandhi on smallpox. Quote, "In fact, it is caused, just like other diseases, by the blood getting impure owing to some disorder of the bowels, and the poison that accumulates in the system is expelled in the form of smallpox. If this view is correct," end quote, "it isn't," quote, "then there is absolutely no need to be afraid of smallpox. If it were really a contagious disease, everyone should catch it by merely touching the patient, but this is not always the case," end quote. Incidentally, Gandhi is highly quotable by anti-vaccination campaigners. Quote, "Vaccination is a barbarous practice, and it is one of the most fatal of all delusions current in our time, not to be found even among the so-called savage races of the world," end quote. On First Aid for Burns, quote, "If the skin has simply got red by the burn, there is no more effective remedy than the application of a mud poultice. If the fingers have been burnt, care should be taken, when the poultice is applied, that they do not touch against one another. This same treatment may be applied in cases of acid burns and scalds of every description," end quote. Gandhi himself ruminated on whether indeed he was qualified or correct in writing on health matters. Quote, "One question which I have asked myself again and again in the course of writing this book is why I, of all persons, should write it. Is there any justification at all for one like me, who am no doctor, and whose knowledge of the matters dealt with in these pages must be necessarily imperfect, attempting to write a book of this kind? My defence is this. The science of medicine is itself based on imperfect knowledge, most of it being mere quackery. But this book, at any rate, has been prompted by the purest of motives. The attempt is here made not so much to show how to cure diseases as to point out the means of preventing them, and a little reflection will show that the prevention of disease is a comparatively simple matter, not requiring much specialist knowledge, although it is by no means an easy thing to put these principles into practice. Our object has been to show the unity of origin and treatment of all diseases, so that all people may learn to treat their diseases themselves when they do arise, as they often do, in spite of great care in the observance of the laws of health." End quote. Unfortunately, pure motives are not enough when it comes to dispensing health advice, and nor was Gandhi necessarily qualified to pass judgment that most science-based medicine is mere quackery. It's also pertinent to remember that Gandhi wrote this treatise in 1921. Our body of knowledge in the field of medicine has grown immensely over the past century. I invite you to have a Fossick around A Guide to Health. His thoughts on chastity and childbirth are quite amazing, and come to your own conclusions as to whether you think he's a reputable source of health advice. I ask you then to consider whether the endorsement of homeopathy cited by World Homeopathy Awareness Week holds much gravitas when you're aware of Gandhi's ideas on health and medicine in general. Finally, please take into account what's possibly the icing on the cake here. I've not been able to find any evidence that the quote used by World Homeopathy Awareness Week can be reasonably attributed to Gandhi. Neither have skeptics on Stack Exchange or commenters on a post of Orax. Likewise, Twitter user Zeno001 has been searching for an original source for the quote to no avail, but he has found some examples of Gandhi mentioning homeopathy, seemingly not in a favourable light. The only place I've found the Gandhi quote, "Homeopathy cures a larger percentage of cases than any other method of treatment and is beyond doubt a safe, economical and most complete medical science," or any variations thereof, have been on pro-homeopathy sites, not in any independent archives of Gandhi's writings or speeches. As such, I think it's a fair call to label the quote as unverified. So to summarise, the World Homeopathy Awareness Week organisers have used an unverified quote from a source whose health advice is highly questionable to promote awareness of a modality for which there is no evidence of efficacy in treating disease greater than that of a placebo. World Homeopathy Awareness Week 2015. Once again helping to raise public awareness that homeopathy is bulldust. For more evidence, please, you can find my blog at evidenceplease.net. Evidence Please is also on Facebook, and you can contact me on Twitter at Joe Alabaster.
You've been listening to the Skeptic Zone. Visit our website at www.skepticzone.tv for comments, contacts, and extra video reports.